Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks, the big interview. Today, I've got Neill Ricketts, CEO of Versarian PLC. Welcome to Punchline Talks, Neill.
Morning, Mark. How are you? You did
I'm
ask
very
for a bit
well,
more
thank you very
energy.
much. Always great to see you, mate. And I just want to say, first question is, what is graphene? I know you're probably sick and tired of answering that one, but that's the starting point. And how big is Versarian now?
So I'll answer that question really, really quickly so we can get on to the good stuff. Graphene is this amazing material that was isolated in 2005. It's set to change almost every part of society, whether it's aerospace, automotive, construction, medicine, textiles, and a whole range of other things. So you're going to hear about graphene. It's all out there, and it's an amazing material that we can use in lots of other things. We kind of became involved in graphene in 2014. We did develop it in the background, getting all of the fundamental data. We've got about 100 people working in the organization. We've got 3 factories, and we've also got kind of 3 laboratories, Manchester, Cambridge, and Belfast.
So how did you actually start the business? I mean, you're there in your garage. That's the legend.
You need to go back a little bit further. Actually, it came up on Twitter yesterday. You know how these moments come up. You know, remember this from 11 years ago? Well, that was the moment that my dream started, and I've been invited to a do in London, the Brazilian embassy, and we had a fantastic evening. There was two other colleagues of mine. We had a great night. Met loads and loads of different contacts and connections. But the next morning, I'm waiting to get the train. And there's a couple of lads in their R8s whizzing around London, you know, and I kind of reflected on my life, and I thought, why can't that be me? Why can't I be that CEO or that person really, really enjoying life instead of, you know, doing the 9-to-5 job that I was doing? And so for me, it was that kind of instant spark which enabled me to think, do you know what, I can do this, and I'm going to do it as well. So that's how it all started. And pretty soon after that, I became kind of pretty disillusioned with doing my 9-to-5 job, and we started Versarian. And
so you started Versarian. Okay, when you say you started Versarian, what was that? What did that look like?
Well, I mean, I kind of got to a situation where I left my job. I had 750 people working for me. You know, I had a person for everything: marketing, sales, finance, and then I started in the garage. That's why I've got my backdrop today. And it was just me, you know, and you know, that's a really tough transition for anybody. You need an awful lot of mental kind of hardiness, I think is the word that I would use. You kind of need to acknowledge that you might be a little bit crazy, and that you kind of want to aspire to this life at a later stage. And you know, there's a lot of stuff to go under the, you know, a lot of water to go under the bridge before you get to that stage.
You are right. I mean, lots of people start off one-man bands, their back bedroom, their front bedroom. Moose Punchline started in my front living room. So how did you get from that little bit then? So how did you get with just you? What was that journey next to?
So, you know, we a couple of partners started the business, and we got to the point where we took our first employee on about just over a year after we started. So the first year was really tough, no money, kind of getting close to losing the house because we couldn't pay the mortgage. You know, a lot of people sat there, you know, saying, well, why don't you just get another job? You know, why don't you go back to 9-to-5? It's really comfy. It's like getting in a duvet on a bad day, isn't it? You know, going to work for someone else. It's nice and comfortable, and it's relatively easy, and you get paid every month. It's amazing. We took our first employee on, James, April 2012, and James came to us because he was unemployed at the time. I didn't have to pay him very much money. He needed the experience, and kind of a lot of people on Twitter are asking, you know, what's your kind of advice to anybody else? And it's to be creative, okay? Not look at what the problems are, look at what the potential solutions are. And that's what we've done all through the last kind of 10 years, is to look at what the problems are and how can we actually do it. You know, how do we meet the Prime Minister? How do you go to China on the Prime Minister's plane? How do you contact a big sales company? How do you come up with this scientific discovery? Because if you're going to look at the problems all the time, you're not going to move forward. Whereas if you can think about ways in which you can overcome those problems by being a little bit creative, then that's great.
Okay, so how did you do all those things then? Let's take a small step backwards. I know we want to go forward, but from 1 to 3 to James, what happened then? How did you get involved with Manchester University and
So Manchester University came on quite late, actually. So we got the business that we started. We were getting some commercial traction with that. We were dealing with one of the largest distributors in the US.
Sorry, what was the business you started?
So that's Versarian.
So I know Versarian, but what was it then? Were you making graphene then? Were you?
No, we didn't start making graphene until 2014. So we had a bit of technology from the University of Liverpool that we licensed. We were a bit cheeky in getting that deal. We had a bit of traction, and that enabled us to talk to my old company and think about buying one of our old businesses, Total Carbide, which we've still got now. And so we kind of hatched this plan, but we needed cash. And where do you get cash from when you've got no revenues, or you're not doing things like other businesses would do? A lot of businesses, they buy boxes, they make a markup on those boxes, and they sell those boxes. We don't do that. We take clever ideas and try to make them into products. So that's all we've ever done, really. And so we needed a different way of being able to raise cash. So one of the founders said, "Let's go on the market," and everyone went, "That is an absolutely crazy, stupid idea. You've got no cash. There's 6 of you in the office by this stage, and you're going to float on the London Stock Exchange. How crazy are you?" So we can do it. We can do that. And so we set about a plan to do it. And in 6 months, we listed on the stock exchange. So we started in January 2013, and by June, we were listed on the stock exchange.
Okay, then how did you do it?
How?
Yeah.
Absolute craziness and maximizing every opportunity that we had.
No, but did you bring experts in? You've done it before?
No, we did.
I got no idea how you get a company on the stock.
So you need a really good accountancy firm, and we told them that they weren't going to get paid unless we got on the stock exchange. You need a really good legal firm. So I spoke to a good friend of mine, a guy called Tim Bird, who works for Field Fisher now. And so we've got this great plan. We're going to be huge. And he kind of looked at us because he sees a lot of startups with a lot of big ambitions. He said, I'll give you a chance. We'll work and get paid out of the proceeds of the thing. So to list a company costs you about £500,000. And if we hadn't listed on the stock exchange, I would still owe those guys that money. And so, it's a big risk, a big ambition. But the team pulled together. We got all the information together for the advisors. We had the right advisors. We did somewhere in the region of about 100 presentations to investors, and we did it. It wasn't easy, and we were working till 8 o'clock on the evening of the deadline to make it happen. I had to put money in. My father had to put money in. The friends and family had to put money in. We even blagged the solicitor to put some money in at the time because we needed it to happen. And every time we got to within about £25,000, someone would fall out because it was the wrong time, or they couldn't get to their bank account or whatever. So we'd have to find another £25,000. But we kept on going, and dogged determination got us through that day. And I got to admit, I left the office at about 8 o'clock at night. Having got all the money together, all agreed, all transferred, all paid. And I walked down to the tube station at, I can't even remember which tube station it was now, I think it was Paddington. And I burst into tears because all of that emotion, all of that pressure had built up to this point. And it's at that point that I realized that I'd actually succeeded in doing something that was nigh on impossible for everybody. It's quite easy when people kind of, they kind of throw missiles at you, bricks at you, virtual bricks at you. You're in, you've raised your head above the parapet. And so it's quite easy to criticize or be jealous of people that have been successful. And they don't realize the journey that you've been on. They don't realize that you could have lost your house. Unfortunately, it cost me my marriage. It cost me time with the kids. And it was a lot of stress to put through, but we got there and we did it, and now we're starting to see the rewards of that.
So okay, so you listed on the stock exchange. What did that actually mean for the company? Did it suddenly all the money started pouring in? Did that mean you could invest more in research and development?
Yeah, so for us, we acquired the company that I talked about, Total Carbide down in just outside Bicester now. We had about 3 million quid as the proceeds of the flotation, and we could get on with work. Once you've got cash, then you can hire people, you can have factories, you can look at opportunities. And on the back of that, I told you about this creative thing, this kind of cheekiness that comes with the startup culture. Big companies don't have it, little companies have it in abundance. We kind of blagged our way into the Conservative Party conference, got a lot of connections and contacts with all of the political parties, whether it's Labour, Liberal, all the Conservatives. And we got ourselves in there on the back of winning a competition in 2012 or 2011, and we got talking to the guys at Manchester, and the guys at Manchester, they had a great idea, some really great technology, but they didn't know how to bring it to market. They didn't know how to talk to the customers, and that's what we're good at. We're good at talking to customers. And so we said, well, look, is there a deal? And we kind of talked about it, and they said, yeah, there might be a bit of a deal to buy the spin out from the University of Manchester. So we had some really interesting conversations. We had some cash, but not enough cash. I'm just about to do the deal, and one of our competitors, this is on the stock exchange, and their value went to about £78 million. So of course everybody sat there thinking, well, this business, is it worth £78 million? Of course, I didn't have £78 million to buy it. So I had to think creatively, and so we've kind of got this deal with Manchester where they've still got a shareholding in our business, and we gave them a little bit of cash, but more importantly, they get a royalty of the future business, and if we're really successful, they're going to do really well out of it.
So this was graphene that was developed by Manchester University, and then how did you get to the process of actually manufactured graphene?
So at that time, Manchester could only make about 0.5 gram a week. And when you look at something, when you've got a bit of an entrepreneurial flair, you see the world in a completely different color to how other people see it. So I kind of saw that 0.5 gram a week as being possible to turn into hundreds of tons of material. And it kind of takes that kind of vision, that kind of clarity of thought to know what the future is going to look like. And so I was excited, and I could see how we could do it. And I knew the right people to bring in to actually make that a fruition. And it took us about 4 years. With lots of experiments. Was it Edison? Edison said, you have to, it's 1,000, I can't remember what the exact quote is now, but you fail 1,000 times to succeed, is the kind of underlying thought. And that's correct. People think that we're going to scale up graphene from 0.5 gram to 1 gram to 2 grams to 1 kilo. I remember I took an order from the University of Manchester. They wanted 1 kilo of material to build a watch for McLaren, Richard Mille watch. They're only going to make about 75 of these watches, but they needed 1 kilo of material to make it the lightest ever watch of its type. And I walked into work, so I've got a contract. It's 100 and something odd £1,000 for this, and we've got to make 1 kilo of material. And everybody in the office went, that's going to take us 4 months. How could you be so stupid? We can't do this. It's never going to be able to do it. So, well, we've got 4 weeks to do it in. So we better build a plan. And they're like, we don't have a plan. We said, well, we've got to come up with a plan. Right. And we ended up working shifts, and everybody dug deep. And even me, I was working shifts with Nigel. We were sat there, looked like a scene from Breaking Bad, to be honest. We had white coats on and respirators. And if anybody was driving past at 11 o'clock at night, looking into our factory, they'd have called the police, I think. But we got through it, and we delivered it on time, and it was the right quality, and that product was a rated success. And that's what really kind of moved us on. But 1 kilo of material, we can do in hours now, as opposed to months. And that's how it's going to be. And in a few years' time, when we're talking about hundreds of kilos or thousands of kilos, we'll look back at that time that we had to make 1 kilo and it took us a month, and think, how the hell do we ever, why do we do it,
So when did you won that contract, delivered the watches on time, or delivered the material for the watches, huge success. what's the next leap then? What did you start developing? Because you're always developing, you've always got ideas whenever I
So
talk.
it's all about scale. So we're looking for those applications. We're working with big companies. It doesn't matter whether it's packaging or it's aerospace or it's automotive. It takes time to get into those design cycles. It takes time. This is a brand new science. It's a bit like those times when, I'm trying to think of my train of thought now.
But it takes time to develop this, to get into the design cycles.
Yeah, and people don't. This is a new science. So this is like when we first introduced steel into the world. It's those kind of moments. Steel will never catch on. God, who would think that cars would catch on? Flying in the air. Electric light bulbs. And it's always the same thing. So I highly recommend people read a book called Think and Grow Rich by a guy called Napoleon Hill. It dates from the Great Depression, but he went around and talked to all these people, Henry Ford and Edison and Carnegie and all of these people, to gather their thoughts about what. But those thoughts from the 1920s are exactly what we're going through now. It'll never catch on. Graphene, you're joking. Put it in, tops like I'm wearing. Who will ever wear tops like that? Looking at your waistcoat, I'll send you one as well, Mark. Okay.
So it'd be very light. I know that much. Very light. As long as it's stretchy, it'll be good.
It is very, very stretchy, and it also cools you down, Mark. Okay, because I know you're prone to a bit of sweating on occasion.
So tell us a bit more about the actual products that you're developing at the moment.
Well, someone's just asked the question, what's the best moment to date? Well, the best moment is when you start to see some of this stuff actually being used. Those watches, when you see that someone locally has bought one, or whether it's that concrete being poured, those are the times when you think, do you know what, I was right. This is happening now. We were having those conversations about concrete 4 or 5 years ago. And so it takes a lot of willpower to kind of get you through that journey. But we're dealing with stuff for automotive, lightweighting. Electric vehicles require batteries. Everything wants to be smaller. Mobile phones, they have more processing power than Apollo 11 or whatever it was. We kind of, as consumers, we're ravenous for new technology. It doesn't matter whether it's LCD TVs or it's electric vehicles, as I said before, and so it's down to new materials to overcome some of these challenges, and I think things like these big events like COVID, they let people kind of think differently. Why do we continue to do the things that we've always done? We had this conversation yesterday, about Zoom. A year ago, how comfortable you'd have turned around to me and you'd have said, Neil, I want you at the office at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd have had to have gone through all of that, the stress of commuting. I'd have got into the office, there wouldn't have been anywhere to park. I'd have found somewhere to park. Then I'd have probably got a ticket because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, or I'd put the wrong registration number in or something. I'd have come in, I'd have been all flustered, and I'd have had to have worn a suit and shirt and tie because I know you're an important person. And there would have been a certain way of doing things. An hour later, I'd have gone out, sit in the car, got a ticket, probably got a wheel clamp on it, and there's someone doing his nut, and we don't live in that world now. So let's challenge it. Let's really challenge it. I'll tell you what I'm really worried about is that we're not doing things quick enough. I'm really worried about the environment, and we're seeing lots of changes in climate. I'm a diver. I'm itching to get back into the water. The damage we're doing to our oceans, the coral reefs, they're not the same as they were 20 years ago. And I'm worried about that. And I want to do as much as I can to be able to kind of, do my bit for that.
So, I mean, graphene, that they actually could put it into concrete now, that happened this week, is absolutely amazing. Does that take you to another level? Do you think this is it now? This is the big breakthrough that you've been waiting for?
No, I don't. I think we've had lots of little breakthroughs. Like, as I said, that first contract for the watch was one. The first agreement, the first joint development contract. And, now we're starting to see that coming into kind of full scale, these big demonstrators, let's get something on a plane, let's get something in the air, let's get something on a car, let's get some clothing done.
So are these
because we start to see
conversations taking part now, Neil? Are you talking to all these different?
The conversations have always been there. Okay, we've been as busy as hell. We don't have a big marketing thing, like you said. We've got kind of 12,000 Chinese like to tune into these things to find out what's going on with Versarian. We've got lots of commercial interest, and and we always have had, to be honest. What we're starting to do now is really starting to deliver on that, whether it's the clothing, whether it's the PPE, whether it's concrete, whether it's automotive, aerospace. All of these things are all coming together at the same time. And there's a certain amount of confidence that comes with seeing these demonstrators. And that's the important thing. Once you can start taking people to a live building site where this technology is actually being used, it's no longer a science experiment. It's something that people can actually get beyond. Concrete accounts for, between 8 and 12% of the world's CO2. And if we can do anything to reduce that level of CO2, I think it's our duty to actually do that. And I know you've had some really great speakers on here in the past, Dale Vince and so on. It's up to these business leaders to do everything we can to try and rectify some of the damage that may have been done previously.
Now, speaking of the past, wouldn't it be fantastic if we could actually put this stuff to fill our potholes here in Gloucestershire or even around the country? If it is super strong, super light, surely wouldn't it be great if we could persuade Gloucestershire County Council that actually let's build the first graphene road?
Yeah, and there's no reason why we can't do that. That technology is there to be done. It's been proven in academia. What we need now is a little cul-de-sac where there's not so much risk, and get down there. We know, for instance, that when we're putting graphene into concrete, that it's not cracking. As concrete starts to settle and set, you have huge forces within the concrete that tend to rip it apart. And that's the same with potholes. Potholes is basically the fracturing of the bitumen that's going on. So yeah, I'm absolutely behind any kind of activity that gets this technology out there. And I'll be talking to the leader of the council, Mark Hawthorne, to say, why can't Gloucestershire be the first? I'm very passionate about the Forest of Dean. I'm very passionate about Gloucestershire. I think it's a great county to work and to live in. It's great for my kids to be brought up here. But there's no reason why we can't have the fastest broadband. We can't be the first tarmac laying county or the first concrete laying county. There's no reason why Gloucestershire can't be the first.
Moving on to the actual job situation in Gloucestershire, how do you feel this is going to be successful? Will it translate into jobs here in the county for us?
It's all about. So when I first started this business, one of the things that I'm a father of 6 myself, and my partner's got one as well. So we've got 7 kids in our family. I'm passionate about giving them the opportunity. I had a good education at Wydene down in Chepstow. I finished off my education there. I moved around a bit before that, and I'm keen that people are given the same opportunities I've been. They say, why can't I be the CEO? The reality is they can. They can be a CEO. There's nothing that stops them. It's within their gift. And so I started off as an apprentice. I was sponsored to go to university. I had a great time. I played an awful lot of rugby. And by the way, Gareth Edwards is my favorite rugby player of all time. But I had some great opportunities, and people gave me the chance, and I took that chance, and I always have done. I've always taken that. When someone's offered me something, I've taken it with both hands and said, I'm going to make the most of this, even if it's not quite what I want. I'm still going to do the best at it, and it doesn't matter whether I was a waiter or I was working in a supermarket or I was serving beer or I was on the. You can obviously tell I've got the face to be on the door. And it didn't matter what I was doing. I was always going to try and do my best. I was always going to be the one that they would count on.
And I think that's the secret of success, anyway, isn't it? All the entrepreneurs that I've interviewed on this show. They've got the passion, they've got the drive, they want to be the best. When we did the top 50 entrepreneurs in Gloucestershire, we couldn't number them really. because they were all the best. No one should have been first, and they weren't put in a numeracy order itself. It was just they were the best. So I can see that's got to be the number one key, isn't it?
It's got to be drive and passion. Yeah, you've got to love what you do, and you've got to really want to make a difference. That's my understanding.
Now, okay, mate. Well, we're running out of time, would you believe, already?
Have we already done 30 minutes, Mark? I don't want to get shortchanged. I don't want to be doing 25 minutes. All right.
I know that you definitely want to have all your time, but we've got a few minutes left. So I've got a couple of personal questions for you, really. What CD have you got in your car at the moment? What are you listening music-wise?
CD? What is this? 1980, Mark? Jesus, you've got to move on, right? We're streaming now.
What record player have you got in your car, mate?
I've no 78. I have actually got a record player. I do think that history is a great thing, and that you can't beat putting an Otis Redding on the record player.
I was going to say that. All right, then let's do it that way. Then, if you've got an LP, that you've got a record player, what's the last LP you bought?
Last LP, Ed Sheeran.
Okay.
Ed, I've got a lot of time. I got a lot of time for Ed. I think his songs are absolutely amazing, and they really do chime with a lot of people. I like the old classics. I like a lot of Motown. My favourite was Queen, Kind of Magic. One of my regrets was not going to the Queen concert when I had the chance. But yeah, a real mixed bag of stuff going on there.
It's funny you should say that, because I had a chance to go to the Queen concert once as well in Berlin, and I turned it down. I wasn't a big fan at the time, and it's one of those moments, and you think, Pink Floyd is another one visiting Berlin. I turned that down as well.
You're older than you
they were doing the wall. Never mind. At least you haven't turned down the business opportunities you had. So your top 3 business tips, Neill, what are they?
So the first one is, look, start as early as you can. It doesn't matter whether you're 10 years old. I had my first entrepreneurial experience when I was washing cars on a council estate. I learned an awful lot about sales technique there. I used to knock at the door. I was probably, I don't know, 12 or 13. I was knocking on the door with a guy called David Potter on the bikes. Knock at the door. The woman had come to the door, and she said, "All right, I just want to wash your car." I said, £1. And no, my husband washes the car. I said, I said, what you got to understand is, if I wash your car for £1, your husband's got all weekend then to do whatever you want him to do. Here's £1, come back next week. Knock at the door the next week, and the bloke had come to the door. He said, what's going on here? He said, you washed my car, and now I've got to do all this stuff. I said, give me £1. I said, I'll wash your car. You can tell the wife you did it, and you can sit in the shed reading the paper. Here's £1, come back next week. It's an important lesson. Start as early as you can. Second one is never give up. Okay, life's not a straight road. It's full of bumps and hiccups, and things don't go well. And so you got to keep going all the way through that journey, because it will come good if you're trying hard enough. If you're working hard and you're trying hard and you're trying to be the best, you'll get there in the end. There's absolutely no doubt. And failing that, it's a lottery night tonight. So put your £2.50 on the lottery. Did once get 5 numbers. Could have been a different story altogether. And the third thing is around being cheeky. All right. So when someone offers you the chance to do an interview like you do, Mark, all right, then grab it with both hands. And what I would say is, if they don't offer it to you, create a situation where they do offer it to you. And always remember, I'm going to give you a 4 because I always like to be a bit cheeky. The fourth one is, always remember those that helped you along the way. So we'll give you a couple of exclusives if you want, Mark. We
always like exclusive here at Punchline, mate. Nick, I didn't call you Nicole then.
Only on the weekends, Mark. That's a headline for you, isn't it? There.
Neill Ricketts, CEO of Versarian. Thanks for talking to Punchline Talks today. Always
Thanks,
good
Mark.
to see you.